It's early March 2018. I have a broken leg right now. I'm gonna do a quick in the bag, hopefully make it pretty quick. To start off, I'm roughly an intermediate player. I'd say on my average round, I'm somewhere probably between a 900 and 920 rating, or at least it's about where I was before I broke my leg. And obviously can't really go out and practice, so we'll see how I am at the start of the year. Probably 4 weeks from now I'll be able to get back out and start doing stuff. But to give some background, I'm basically I've been taking disc golf serious now for about a year. My goal for the end of this year would be to be about 950 rated in my tournament rounds. We'll have to see how that goes. If I'm above 940, I'll consider it a pretty good year. But overall, I'm just going to do a quick in the bag, try to make it pretty quick, and I guess we'll get into it. Start off with my putting putters. I like the Innova Colt. These are pretty good for both push putting and spin putting. This one has some decent seasoning on it, which makes it pretty good for push putts, since they're a bit of an overstable disc. It's VTech, so if you look under here on a DX plastic one for the VTech putters, you would notice that inside the flashing, if you held it up to a light, that inside the flashing, a lot of light gets through because there's less plastic, but as you get out towards the wing, more plastic is in there, so it gets darker and darker. That's kind of nice for kind of like the fan grip or whatever, anything where you're putting your thumb about right here on the disc. I generally like to put my thumb near this kind of ring right here, and for the DX plastic, I know that DX isn't always the best plastic to putt with, but it's kind of got a good firmness right around there. Not too much give, but not super heavy. It stands up pretty well when it gets warm and humid and all that. And overall, I like Colts to putt with. I keep this one, has some decent wear and tear on it for push putts, and then a fresher DX one for spin putts. Some of these discs, like this one, are pretty new to my bag. I haven't even really been able to throw them with the broken leg. Beyond that, for throwing putters, I like Colts as well. I carry a Star Colt. This one's pretty stable. As it beats in a little bit, it'll fly a lot straighter, but you can kind of just flip these up to flat. You can kind of, if you baby them a little bit, just keep them on hyzer pretty well. I like to throw beaded putters, and in fact, I'm pretty sure that all of my mids, well, there's probably just one mid that I have that's not beaded, and all my putters have a bead on them. So that just kind of helps with the stability. I can do a lot of different stuff with the Colt. I can get a good Annie on it, just a smooth Annie. It's a point and shoot kind of disc. I carry 2 XTs. Both of them are really fresh. As one of them, I'm trying to get one of them to get beaten up once I get out there. So hopefully that can become more of my turnover disc. The Colts are very shallow discs, and this one's actually a prototype Colt, so they're actually even shallower than your standard Colt. So they have a little less glide, and these are actually kind of pop-toppy. So you can hear that. Pop-top in the putter is kind of interesting. I'll have to see how these work in everything, but Colts are definitely one of my favorite discs. The only other putters that I throw, and that's mostly for sidearm, would be my harps. Carry 2 harps. One's BT medium, has some good wear and tear on it, has some decent amount of seasoning on it. This one I can just forehand on a little bit of hyzer. It'll flip up, ride straight for a while, and it won't really turn over too much unless I really give it some power. They're great for Annies too. On the sidearm, you can just put it on Annie and let it ride. The VIP one is just a little more stable and holds up a little better than this BT medium one. It's a lot fresher too. But that's my putters. Moving on into mid-ranges. One of my favorite mid-ranges that I used to like to throw a lot was Shark, and this is a Champion Shark, factory second. They're kind of hard discs to find, Champion Sharks, but you can find them. This is not beaded. It's the only putter or mid that I throw that's not beaded. It's got a good amount of stable, but it's very point and shooty. I like to use this for more of up shots rather than off the tee. I'll throw it off the tee, but I kind of just like to have this in the bag for, I don't know, it builds confidence for me in my bag, just because I know that I can trust it for 60 feet to 250 really well. But I can put this on Annie and it'll ride on that Annie real well. Put on flat, it'll stay flat and have a little hook up at the end. Put it on hyzer, and if I give it some power, it will flip up and ride really well. But it's a good disc. Like I said, I use it for upshots mostly. If you took this out of my bag, I probably wouldn't initially realize it, but it's a great disc to just have for any situation, really. And then other mids, I carry Truths. This is a pre-EMAC Truth, even though it has the EMAC stamp. It's marked 02 turn fade, but obviously this throws like a regular Truth. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. It's lucid plastic. It has a little bit of wear and tear, not too much, but you can pop it out on hyzer, pop it out on a lot of hyzer. You can do a lot of different stuff with it. If I throw this flat, I can trust it to ride right pretty well without really worrying about it turning and burning. I also carry an EMAC Truth, also lucid plastic, but this is very similar to the regular Truth. I can put it out on hyzer, it'll flip up, ride straight, and always have that little check up at the end, which is nice. I can get some good distance out of these. As this thing starts to beat in a little more, and this thing starts to beat in more, this EMAC will probably replace this regular Truth, and then I'll probably get a regular Truth or another EMAC in lucid plastic to replace that. But overall, right now, the Truths are great discs in my bag. Almost fly like a low-speed fairway driver in a way, but they're great discs. Only other mid-range that I carry is a Justice. These are very overstable. I like these a lot for forehands. They kind of complement the harps in my bag really well. It's just kind of like a cheat code disc when I want to fly a harp line, but I just want to. I don't know. I'm messing around with it. I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay in my bag, but I don't know, because it flies similar lines to the harp, but this is just a little faster, but goes like the same distance as the harp. I don't really like to pull it out for more than like 225, and that's mostly on upshots. Sometimes if there's a short hole, I'll go off the tee with it, but it's a great disc. I'm messing around with it still. Maybe it won't have a spot in my bag, but I'm thinking that it probably will. So that's my putters and mids. Moving on to fairways. Probably my fairway of choice generally, and kind of like a middle ground in my bag, something where I can club up or club down to it, is a Champion T-Bird. It's a 12 time. It just holds great lines. Obviously everybody knows what a T-Bird will do. I can put it out on a little bit of hyzer, let it flip up, maybe ride a little right, and always have that straight fade. Or if I baby it a little bit, then it'll have that nice left fade at the end. A lot of glide, which is nice, I think, to have in a fairway. It's yeah, everybody knows what T-Bird does. I carry another T-Bird. This is a Champion Glow, Color Glow, Jennifer Allen stamped one. It's a lot flatter than the Champion one, but this is nice because it has a little more glide than you would get out of a T-Bird 3. But I like this for forehand and backhand as well. A lot of people don't like to forehand T-Birds, but it's a great disc to I can get a little bit of flex out of it. I can kind of like flip it up to flat a little bit. And I can always trust it to fade off at the end. But T-Birds. Then next up would be my Thunderbirds. I have a G-Star Thunderbird. And these are good discs. The G-Star Thunderbird is a little flippy. Not like crazy flippy, but I can put it out on hyzer, let it flip up. It'll softly go right a little bit, and then it'll softly fade once it slows down. It's a very good disc. This is definitely a disc that I need in my bag. I've had it for a while, and it's got a little bit of wear and tear, but it's these G-Stars don't beat in as quickly as other discs would. But I like these G-Star Thunderbirds a lot. It's a great spot in my bag. Next up would be this Factory Second Champion Thunderbird. These fly the same lines as that Thunderbird, but they have a little more checkup at the end, so I can just put it out on hyzer, let it flip up, ride straight. It'll check up at the end, and it's great when you want a little more distance than say like that Champion T-Bird will get you. And these have plenty of glide, so they're just great discs overall. Only other fairway I carry is a Champion Firebird. This is a 12 time. It's a little flatter than most of the 12 times that I've seen, but as a forehand player, you got to have a disc like this, low glide, heavy fade. Always a necessity for a forehand player, but I can get good backhand flex lines out of this too. But overall, great flexor disc. I can pop it out on flat and always trust that it's gonna fade out of the end. Good for in the wind, good for all situations really. But Firebird, definitely a need to have in my bag. I carry at least one, sometimes two in my bag. Moving up, we'll go into kind of like more of like a control sort of driver. I haven't been able to test these out too much, but based off of the little amount of field work that I've been able to do, I like these a lot. They fly really well. These are the Westside Boatmans, and they're great discs. I can get a little more distance out of them than a Thunderbird would, and they're great. I can just put them out on hyzer. They'll flip up, sometimes ride a little right, and they'll fade pretty consistently and pretty straight. Not crazy amounts of fade on them or anything, and just a good straight fader for me. I got a tournament one and a VIP one. We'll have to see. I know almost certainly that these are going to stay in my bag, even though I haven't been able to work with them that much. But based off of what I know, these things are pretty much going to stay in my bag. They're great for forehands too. I can just put it out on a forehand hyzer, let it flip up, maybe ride left a little bit, and it'll straight fade for me. Great discs, both backhand and forehand. They're a little bigger in diameter than your average driver would be. So I think max weight would be like 178, but these are 172 and 173. So and I like them a lot. Not too flippy or anything at that weight. Moving up would be like my main distance driver. Matches my arm speed pretty well, and I'm considering getting a Star Plastic one of these because this is a Champion. This is a Champion Wraith. When I first started, Wraiths really were good. I was forehand hucker, so I would just put a high-speed disc, overstable disc on a crazy Annie. This was like 10 years ago, so I would just me and my friends would just go to the course and just put crazy Annie on these kind of discs, and this was one of the first discs that I started to be able to do different stuff than just that crazy Annie. So it's a great disc for both forehand and backhand. The Champion holds up really well in the wind. I recently got this back from a friend. I let my friend have this a while back, but I convinced him to give it back to me. It's a good disc, and I'm considering getting a Star Plastic one. We'll have to see where the Boatmans fit in my bag, but right now this is a great disc, great main distance driver for me. Moving into something that's a little more understable would be this Champ Turn. It's got some good amount of wear and tear on it, a little bit of seasoning, not crazy or anything. I can pop this out on hyzer, let it flip up, ride right, and it'll pretty consistently fade straight for me. It moves right a bit more than what I'm usually looking for, but it's a great just max distance because I can play with the amount of hyzer I give it, and it's great for getting really long Annie shots too. I can kind of just put it out flat or give it a little bit of Annie, and it'll ride right really well for me. It's a great disc. Probably gonna stay in my bag for a while. Champ Turn. Something that's a little more disc or too much disc for me, but it's actually getting beat up a little bit, or not beat up, but a decent amount of seasoning on it. And it's actually flying pretty well for me. Is a Star X-Cal. These are good discs for forehand. When this was fresh, I would just put crazy amount of Annie on it and just let it flex really long flexes for me. As it's beaten up, I'm kind of considering getting a Champion one. I'm not real sure. I'm gonna have to play around with different discs, but for those same kind of just like force over Annie flexes forehand, and when I need something that's just gonna go left on my backhands too, this is a great disc. Holds up into the wind really well. Decent amount of glide for it. As it beats up, I've noticed that I can put it out on just a little bit of hyzer. It will flip up a little bit and ride straight, but always have that big hook up at the end. Not a huge distance for me, but this thing is a great disc to have. And then the only other discs that I really carry are my rollers. I got a Champion Sidewinder. It's a good disc. It's something that I can just play with different angles. I can get it down pretty quick, or I can kind of air it out on a flatter shot and just kind of give it some room to work with. But it'll consistently pop up, ride, and then finish right, which is what's good for any roller that you want to make sure that you finish right on. I don't really forehand roll with these, but backhand rollers, they're great. More of a power roller would be Biofusion Trespass. These things are really flippy. In fact, I even named it Flipper, but it's a really flippy disc, but I like it. It doesn't like, it's not so flippy that when I throw a nice roller with it, it doesn't just immediately turn over. It's a great disc for rollers. I'm still kind of playing with it as a roller right now, because if it doesn't do exactly what I want, then I'll probably just switch back to MVP Inertias, which is one of my favorite roller discs, and we'll have to see how they do. I know what Inertias do really well, and they're great discs. But overall, that's my in the bag. Tried to make it pretty quick. Again, like a lot of these discs are fresh in my bag, or just have barely been able to get thrown. So we'll have to see what stays in, what goes. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with where my bag is. Maybe one or two different discs will get thrown in or out. But overall, keep it cool. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, let me know. Tried to make this fairly quick, but I know it is a little long, so hope you enjoyed it. Peace.